Hello and welcome from Budapest. This is Hungary Reports from Public Media M1, bringing you the latest news from Hungary and the Carpathian Basin in English. I'm Árpád Szőci. Thanks for tuning in. Starting at midnight on Tuesday, Hungary imposes new restrictions because of COVID-19. Foreigners will not be allowed to enter the country, and Hungarian citizens who return home from abroad will have to immediately go into quarantine, regardless which country they come from.
Only after taking their temperature and checking their papers could people enter Hungary at the Serbian-Hungarian border at Röszke. Traffic was heavy in the morning. Many departed before the stricter border control would come into effect. Officers were working at every entry gate at the Romanian border section as well. There were some who brought their children over the border for the beginning of the school year. And this is the border crossing at Letenye on the Croatian section of the border. Crew members of Public Media's M1 News met tourists here who cancelled their Croatian holiday because of the new restrictions. We still had 9 days of our holidays, but we had to come home, said one of them. At the Austrian border near Sopron, containers were being prepared where healthcare workers will start their duties on Tuesday, along with the National Army. Workers also spent the whole day cleaning. New restrictive measures were made public on Sunday evening. According to the government decree, starting September 1st, non-Hungarian citizens will not be allowed into the country. Only the police can make exceptions. Having to participate in court or judicial proceedings could be reasons for this, or if someone comes for medical treatment. And there will be exceptions for students as well. However, it is important to note that these exceptions do not meet exemption from the mandatory 2-week quarantine. The biggest change that has to be highlighted is that, unlike before, COVID tests taken abroad will not be accepted, the spokesperson of border management said. Other regulations will concern Hungarian citizens. In case they return from abroad, they can expect a medical checkup at the border. After this, they will have to quarantine for 14 days or present 2 negative PCR tests with at least 48 hours between testings. There will be some exceptions. The transport of goods will not be affected by these restrictive measures, a police officer pointed out. Furthermore, nationals of neighboring countries and Hungarian minorities from those countries will be allowed into the country, but can only stay for a maximum period of 24 hours and within 30 kilometers of the border. Restrictions are expected to stay in effect for a month.
On Sunday, a large number of people tested positive for COVID-19 in Hungary again, but well down from Saturday's record-breaking number of 292. For the past week, it's mainly been young people coming down with coronavirus, but the biggest danger is still for the elderly.
A sign on the door of the senior citizens' home in Hajdú-Námás announces a curfew and visitors ban. The Protestant church looks after 85 individuals in the city at 2 separate places. From now on, they will keep in contact with their relatives via the internet or on the phone. These restrictions were put in place in order to further protect the residents in the homes. Besides the old age home, hospital administrators have instigated a visitors ban at several healthcare institutions nationwide. The goal is to halt the further spread of the coronavirus. This kindergarten in Óbuda has temporarily been closed, as 3 teachers tested positive for coronavirus. The entire staff might also be affected, as they had been working to prepare for the new school year. In fact, the 70 children who attended the kindergarten during the last 2 weeks of August might also be affected. The kindergarten instructors who were infected are currently at home under quarantine. The building of the institution, as well as the yard, are being disinfected. The virus mainly affects the younger generation now, and if any do experience symptoms, they are usually mild, and so fewer individuals are hospitalized. However, experts ask young people to refrain from coming into contact with the elderly. It is clear that a significant rise in infections in the elderly follows the mass spread of the infection in young people after 3 to 4 weeks. This has been observed in other countries as well, Angela Merkel said. As many are not adhering to safety measures related to the coronavirus pandemic, it can be expected that in the future, the authorities will place a greater emphasis on enforcing the use of masks in the prescribed areas.
Hungarian prosecutors say certain people have been using international bus routes to transport illegal migrants into Hungary. The stowaways were found hiding in roof luggage compartments. The driver supposedly charged several hundred euros per person to smuggle them. Between October 2017 and March 2018, more than 100 illegal migrants were smuggled to Western Europe from Romania via Hungary. The criminal gang carrying out these operations was allegedly led by two men who worked out of the Hungarian capital. The Budapest chief prosecutor has filed charges against them. And Poland could lead Central Europe into becoming an economic success, but Europe has failed to adapt to become more competitive. That's what Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orbán said at the 15th Bled Strategic Forum in Bled, Slovenia, where also COVID-19 and Brexit were discussed. The forum was attended by the heads of state and government, as well as foreign ministers from a number of countries. Orbán added that Hungary is fighting to enforce its approach of Christian democratic conservatism versus liberal views.
Europe's future after Brexit and the coronavirus were the two main topics at the 15th Bled Strategic Forum, where Central European prime ministers met.
For our presidency next year, we all know that this will be, we hope so, post-COVID era. So we will still dealing with how to fix the effects or the consequences of the epidemic.
We haven't identified our new position in the global economy.
Viktor Orbán pointed out in his speech that Europe has not found its place yet in the new world economy. He said there is great need for a common European army to create stability, which could facilitate technological development as well.
Fight for intellectual sovereignty.
The Prime Minister pointed out that the fight in Hungary is for intellectual sovereignty, for the Christian conservative approach to democracy over liberal thinking. As he put it, we are fighting not to merely be able to look at European politics and institutions from one perspective approved by everyone, but to also be able to have discussions on notions such as family, nation, cultural traditions, religion and migration. Viktor Orbán also held bilateral talks with the Czech and Croatian heads of government. After the negotiations, he told public medias and One News that the EU is continuously losing its global economic significance, but Central Europe at the same time is continuously becoming stronger. At the panel, Hungary's Minister of Foreign Affairs and Trade pointed out that measures taken by the country in recent months could mean a competitive advantage for Hungary. The next few years could be the years of Central Europe, considering that the much attacked but very sensible policies in the areas of economy and migration mean such a competitive advantage to Central Europe at the moment in terms of security, political stability and economic growth, that in the next period we could perform better than the European average, Péter Szijjártó said. According to Péter Szijjártó, on account of the coronavirus pandemic, soon the world will be involved in serious competition in terms of the distribution of global economic capacity, which Hungary can join in with great confidence and hopes of success.
Production of a new line of electric buses started on Monday in Debrecen in the east of the country. The Green Bus program means that passengers in 9 regional cities get to go on these buses for free for a month. The State Secretary for Energy and Climate Policy at the Ministry of Innovation and Technology, Péter Koderiak, said that the government's goal is for Hungary to be one of the European countries that becomes carbon emission-free by 2050. And Hungarian film producer Ildikó Enyedi will be awarded a Lifetime Achievement Award at the Polish Film Festival in Szabadka, Serbia, according to organizers there. The festival starts on September 12th. Every year, the award is handed out to a Serbian film professional as well as to a foreign one. Enyedi was also an Academy Award nominee. The Polish Film Festival was supposed to take place in the summer, but because of the COVID-19 pandemic, was postponed until September. Among the 12 films in competition is the Hungarian movie Volon. A 5-member international jury awards the Golden Tower for Best Film and the Polish Tower for Best Director. The UNESCO World Heritage Site of the Hortobágy on the Great Hungarian Plain isn't just about the 9-arched bridge and Hungarian steppe cattle, but also includes countless opportunities for people to explore. One such area is the Góres Range, where the National Park's bird clinic is located. Behind it is the wetlands area and nature trail that you can take until Black Lake. And traveling in the opposite direction towards Slovenia, you'll hit the village of Lenti with its thermal baths and St. George Energy Park. In fact, much of the energy to run the facilities comes from the very thermal baths themselves. And you can come here any time of year to get away from it all and just relax. And that's all for now, but we're back live again every night at about 11:20 p.m. Central European Time, and you can always catch us in repeats and online as well. Please stay tuned if time permits. We also have programs in German, Russian, and Chinese. Thanks very much for watching, and Mindanyot.